Great. Take it away.
All right, everybody. Hey. Come on. All right. So, the presentation that I studied and created is World War I. So first, we take a look at the geography of World War I. As you can see, well, here we have the green are going to be the Allies, and the red are going to be the Central Powers. So Central Powers were the quote-unquote bad guys who Germany started the whole situation in here, and then it's kind of like a domino effect from there. Everybody felt either uncomfortable, and then they had to help because they're allies with this person and that person, and it's all a big kind of mess, if I can say that. So in 1914, August of 1914, Germany declares war on France. But what happens is Belgium blocks Germany out of France. So Germany has to invade Belgium to get into France, which is the first time we see that Allied forces coming together and creating problems for the Central Powers. So these are the Allies: Britain, France, Russia, Italy, and the United States. Their flags are on this side of the picture here. Those are the main ones. There's also some smaller countries in there. And then we have the Central Powers: Germany, Austria-Hungary, Ottoman Empire, and Bulgaria. They are on this side of the picture. So this picture is kind of cool, I thought, because they put the main allies on this side, the main Central Powers on that side, and it's kind of like separating them, but they're also just right there. I don't know, I thought it was an interesting picture. So here we get into some of the major figures of World War I. A lot of people know Winston Churchill for World War II because he was the Prime Minister. But in World War I, he was also a major figure. He was the head of the British Navy for a period of time before he failed a mission, and then he became a battalion commander in the Army. So he's actually a pretty major figure before he was really well known for what he did during World War II and after that time period. Also, Franz Ferdinand, he was a prince, and he was assassinated by, tough to say, Gavrilo Princip, I think is how you pronounce that. And so he was a Serbian militant. He assassinated Franz Ferdinand, which was kind of the unofficial start of World War I, a lot of people say, because this caused a lot of conflict between Belgium and Serbia, which ended up leading to a war which wanted to be fought by the Allies, and Germany didn't like it, and it sort of was like the push of the dominoes, and this started the whole thing. Next, Franz Joseph, he's the Emperor of Austria-Hungary. That was his major role, honestly. He's just an emperor. Woodrow Wilson, the President of the United States. A lot of people know who that is because he was President of the United States. It's a big deal. So he was president during that time. He had to make a lot of decisions on whether or not they should go to war or not, and so he made a lot of big decisions. So then we have the Zimmermann telegraph. So this is a picture of it right here, and this is wasn't a person, obviously, it was a telegraph, but it was sent to Mexico, and it was sent by the Germans, and it was talking about an attack on the United States, like a secret sneak attack, which ultimately this kind of forced Woodrow's hand to go into the war because the when they're being threatened, obviously they want to protect their country, and so that the telegraph sort of started that they're going to go into war. So next, we have some major battles, and these were some turning points in the war. The first one, the Battle of the Bight. British naval ships sank 3 German ships on August 28th of 1914. So here's a picture of that, which is a big deal because like losing naval ships in a war is pretty major. And this was very early in the war. It was really the first month of the war. So the German Navy took a big hit really early on with this attack. Second one, Battle of Gallipoli, January 6, 1916. British invaded Turkey to open up the Dardanelles, which is a strait between Europe and Asia. But this operation failed, which ended up costing hundreds and hundreds of lives because they were sort of funneled into a certain area that they couldn't really get out of, so they could easily be attacked, which ended up being a disaster, really. It cost tons of money and a lot of lives in the process. The Battle of Masuren Lakes. So there's 2 German armies under General Paul von Hindenburg, and they defeated Russia's first army. So this is the first major successful battle for like the German military campaign, because they pushed Russia back by defeating that first army, which was a pretty big deal. So next, the Battle of Tannenberg. I'm not sure if anyone's heard of this. These 2 are the really big ones. But so Allied forces won along a 25-mile front, but it wasn't as big of a win as they wanted to, because they only could advance 6 miles, and it costed them 146,000 lives, which is a lot of lives for 6 miles of advancement. And this is kind of paints a picture of what World War I was like. It was a lot of bloody warfare that didn't result in a lot of successful campaigns. So here's a picture of the trenches, which was a major tactic that they used during World War I. You can see there's a body here. There's a helmet here. I'm not sure if that's just somebody's helmet resting there, if that's a person. But you can just imagine being down here with mortar fire and people shooting at you. It's just a horrible situation to be in. It's really deadly, and that's why they lost so many lives, because there's just so much. So they're so easy to get attacked, and there's so many people down here that there's just bound to lose a lot of lives. And then the biggest battle of the war is the Battle of Verdun, which was the longest and the deadliest battle. It was February 21st to December 18th of 1916. So this is early. Germany assaults France, and they block their path to Paris, because Germany wanted to advance into Paris, France was blocking them. They kind of, again, funneled into this bottleneck, and there's a lot of fighting going on, which ended up resulting in 650,000 soldiers dying, which is just like massive for an unsuccessful tour into trying to get to Paris. But this is another example, the Battle of Verdun is another example of just how deadly the warfare was during this time. There's just so many casualties, and there's also civilian casualties. So when you get into some of the costs, and so here are the post costs. They're for everybody. They're not divvied out. So $186 million in direct costs of war. So that's weapons, like manufacturing, and costs that are directly related to the war. And then $151 million in indirect costs. So these are their costs that help repair, money that was sent to Germany to help repair their state. So then when you get into casualties, so 9 million combatants, which is 3 times the population of Massachusetts right now, roughly, which just think about is just ridiculous. That's crazy. And then 5 million civilians, which a lot of people don't really think about. When you hear the deaths of a war, you kind of think about the soldiers, but 5 million civilians is a pretty major number, especially for a war. So here I have a little movie clip, which kind of helps explain the beginning of the war.
France. 2 days after that, Austria-Hungary declared war on Russia.
So here, I can hold this. So this is kind of what I was getting at earlier. The confusing beginning of the war, which is really, it's difficult to explain because it's just super confusing. So they actually did a pretty good job in the movie, so I thought it would help people out if they got to hear it like the way I heard it, and how they explained it to me, because it's pretty helpful. Does this sound too loud, or is it alright?
2 days after that, Austria-Hungary declared war on Russia. The German military general staff had developed a plan to win a war against France on one side and Russia on the other. They would invade France through Belgium and make a huge arc around Paris. France would surrender. Then the German army would turn around and head east against Russia. Germany would make their enemies pay for the war and annex huge chunks of Russia and France. Prior to the war, Britain, France, and Germany had all guaranteed Belgium's neutrality. Britain could never accept a German army next door to them across the English Channel. Once Germany invaded Belgium, that was it. The world was at war. Britain and its far-flung empire declared war on Germany on August 4th. Then Turkey came into the war on the German side. Then Italy on the Allied side. Then Bulgaria on the German side. Then Romania on the Allied side. The belligerents looked at the war as an opportunity to settle old scores, take territory, and make themselves secure forever. This war would finally end grudges on all sides that went back centuries.
So, as you can see from that video, it's kind of almost like childish. Like, oh, I want to be on your side, and then how do I get this thing back in the full screen? What?
Try the green button.
So it's kind of like, I thought it was sort of childish. It's like, oh, I'm on your side. It's like playing wiffle ball in the backyard when you're 12 years old. You want to be on the best team, and everyone's just sort of throwing themselves into this war, which kind of is what made it so bad. It's because there's so many people and so many armies fighting against each other that there's just bound to be all this destruction. So here's another picture of the trenches. So all of these are soldiers in the trenches. As you can see, none of them are really happy. I wouldn't be either. But it kind of just shows how, like, they're just kind of sitting ducks. They're just sitting in this trench, and there's not really anywhere for them to go. It's kind of like, it's kind of sad to see because they're just kind of thrown into this situation, and it was bound to sort of happen. So I think that's sort of it. Let me go back to a slide. No, you can't read that. I don't know. I think that's sort of. I think that's good. I don't know. I'm at 14 minutes 58 seconds. I got it. I got it.